All right, let's get you caught up on the week in tech. Carmi Levy joins us every Thursday afternoon, and we're going to talk. I guess the big story in tech this week has to be this thing called DeepSeek, the new Chinese AI, whatever we call these things, bot engine thing. Not only the fact that it roiled stock markets during the week, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was the biggest single day loss in the tech sector on the market for NVIDIA ever in the history of tech stocks on the market. So obviously, Carmi, it's made a huge impact. But along with that, now comes a bit of a cautionary tale because we know it was developed by China. My producer, Dean, just said Italy has now gone ahead and banned DeepSeek. Are we next?
Quite possibly. In fact, I would expect additional countries to start lining up and saying, we're going to establish restrictions on this in much the same way that the U.S. had threatened to throttle TikTok. And frankly, if you go to India, you can't use TikTok either. So there are a number of countries where restrictions have been put in place on other apps, and it looks like they're starting to turn their sights on DeepSeek as well because it poses an even bigger risk compared to TikTok. It's not just an app where you watch videos. It's an app that is used to train an AI model. It is an AI model. So the fact that it's owned by a Chinese company, yet again, this all sounds so familiar, means that you're sharing that much more information with a company that may or may not be sharing that in turn with the Chinese government. Hugely worrisome. And essentially it works. If you've used ChatGPT, it works a lot like it. The key is that it comes from China. So, and it shows, and the reason the stock market was so just absolute turmoil on Monday was because it is basically AI on the cheap. It uses older hardware, so it doesn't need the latest and greatest chips, doesn't need a massive data center. It costs them just a few $million to build as opposed to the American models that cost hundreds of millions and billions. And so investors looked at this and said, oh my God, all of these assumptions that we've made about the AI industry, that America leads the world, that it takes huge amounts of capital, hundreds of billions of dollars to develop these. Along comes a tiny little company in China, less than 20 employees, and essentially outsmarts the world and sort of tells them China is now going to be an AI power. So proceed with great caution, as I would advise with any Chinese app download, because you could be exposing yourself to some very significant privacy concerns. And Italy is right to raise the flag. I think this is something that every government will probably want to look at, but not just this app, but also any kind of platform, AI platform originating from a country where we have concerns that the government could be using that data against us. Stop looking just at TikTok, look at the bigger picture.
Have you tried it, by the way?
I have, and as I give everyone advice not to download it, I will admit I have downloaded it.
Well, that's okay. You're testing it for research purposes.
Exactly. So it didn't go onto my primary device. I have a burner phone just for that. It's not connected to my home network. And so I've downloaded it to you. And it took me a few attempts because there's a huge amount of demand. Everybody wants it. Yeah. It's the most popular app in the App Store now because everyone wants to download it. And so I had to try a bunch of times. And basically it works like ChatGPT. In fact, many of the sort of the answers it provides to typical questions, it actually does so better than ChatGPT according to a number of benchmarks. And so on the one hand, it's a little bit better than ChatGPT in some ways. On the other hand, that Chinese connection means I just can't get over it. It will never find its way onto my primary device. I will use it because it's the work that I do, but for anyone else, it's just not worth it at all. Stick with the apps that you know from trusted vendors that you know that sure, they're using your data to send you advertising, but they're certainly not using it for mass surveillance, and I think that's an important distinction.
Let's move on from DeepSeek to the other story, I guess, which is about TikTok. Haven't heard much since the whole it's going to go dark in the U.S. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Now there's an extension. Now we hear a couple of the big guys, Oracle and Microsoft, are considering buying TikTok.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is their second kick at the can. Way back when Donald Trump was president for the first time and tried to shut TikTok down. It was Oracle and Microsoft in partnership with Walmart that stepped forward and were negotiating a deal before that one died with the end of the administration. So Oracle and Microsoft back at the negotiation table apparently, and I think that makes a lot of sense. The reason being, it's not like the other bidder. So for example, YouTube influencer Mr. Beast has said he's made a bid. Kevin O'Leary has also said that he's made a bid, and then he subsequently started a crowdfunding campaign for everyone else to pay for it. But those aren't serious bids. They don't have the technological background to manage a company like TikTok, whereas Oracle already is. They run TikTok's cloud services, all of that back-end stuff that makes those videos run as they do. It's Oracle that does it, and Microsoft certainly has the technological capability, the engineering chops to build a new algorithm. So between those two companies, they have the financial means, but they also have the technical means. And so in terms of who's interested in buying it and who's at the top of the list, I would put those two companies right at the top of the list right now.
All right. And since we're speaking TikTok, I have no idea what this story is about. You have a headline that says iPhones with TikTok installed are being offered on eBay for, wait for it, $50,000. What is this about?
And so when TikTok went down in the U.S. for about 12 hours a couple of weeks ago, just as the Biden administration was ending and the Trump administration was coming in on Inauguration Day, an interesting thing happened. When the app got turned back on in the U.S., it still stayed off the App Store. So even today, if you're in the U.S., and you have a phone, if you already have TikTok on it, you're fine. You can use it as you always have. But if you didn't have it, let's say you bought a new phone and you go to download all your new apps, well, you can't download it from the App Store because it's just not there. Both Apple and Google say they will wait until they are sure they're not going to get sued before they put it back on. So that's ignited a huge market. There are thousands of listings on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and other marketplace-type apps for phones that have TikTok preloaded with them. So if you have a new phone and it doesn't have TikTok on it and you really got to get your fix, you can spend a few $100s, a few $1,000s, or even in this one case, up to $50,000 to buy somebody's old phone with TikTok on it. And that sounds like fun, but this is one of those be really careful what you wish for moments, because we all know what's the only thing you need to do before you sell your phone to anyone else is wipe it back to factory settings. Never sell a phone with your stuff on it. That's the best way to get cyber attacked. And so, basically what people are doing is they're not wiping their phones. They're violating eBay's rules, and they're putting themselves at incredible security risk because whoever buys their phone now might have a way to log into their accounts, into their and all that.
Okay.
So be super careful. Never do that. And it doesn't really apply here in Canada because we still have access to it in the App Store. But something to consider if that ever happens here, never, ever buy a phone with preloaded apps. Always fresh, always wipe back to factory. Asking
a question for a friend, Carmi. Let's say this person has an iPhone that they don't use, but it has TikTok on it. Could that friend then put that phone up on eBay with TikTok installed on it and sell it to someone in the U.S. who could then get on TikTok?
Yes, they could. And it would likely still work. And again, it's one of those your mileage may vary because they'll have to sign in using their account, of course. You'll need to make sure that you have wiped out any authentication information. So your username, your password, you're going to have to go through not just the TikTok app, but every other app on the phone to make sure that they can't sign in as you. Probably want to delete all the other apps on the phone too, but again, that's not a very safe thing to do because it's way too easy. Even if they're your friend, it still puts you in very serious peril.
But wait, again, asking for my friend, if you were to wipe your phone, just like you were going to sell it or give it to someone, so all your information was gone, and could you then add TikTok and then sell the phone?
You could, but in order to do that, you would still have to authenticate. So, for example, let's say I had an iPhone. If I wipe it back to factory, before I can install any apps, I have to set up an Apple ID. I have to set up a whole bunch of things that can still be traced back to me. So there's no way to be completely clean about this. You're still incurring risk. It's still not worth it. Even for a few $100, whatever you might be able to get, or even if you're giving it to a trusted friend, I would still worry about a phone like that in someone else's hands. It's like a bomb waiting to go off.
Just finished spending my $50,000. Okay. Carmi, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you very much. So anybody who thought the same thing that I just thought, my friend thought, you just want to pay attention to what he said, right? Yes, you would at some point have to use credentials of some kind to log in, even if you wiped your phone and put TikTok on it. So that's apparently not going to work. Shame.